The Georgia Southwestern State University Hurricane baseball team is coming off of sweep over the weekend of UCSB, and they had a big win over Albany State on Tuesday. We'll talk about that with Josh McDonald right after this.
Welcome to the Integrity Sports Podcast, covering local sports in the Southwest Georgia area, creating content that is factual, positive, and informative, promoting efforts by athletes, coaches, and sports administrators. Now, here's your host, Tim Estes.
Hello, and thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine as we discuss sports-related topics that are of interest to people in the Southwest Georgia area. As we get started today, let me remind you, if you're watching on Facebook, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. That's how we build our viewership. We're also available on YouTube, and if you're watching on YouTube today, hit the subscribe button. Same thing with Twitter and LinkedIn and all the other podcast studios. We need to know who's watching and where, so let us know that. Our guest today is the head baseball coach at Georgia Southwestern State University, Coach Josh McDonald. Josh, you and I have become pretty good friends over the last few years, and I sure appreciate you joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Coach, you're now, I guess, is this your fifth year at Georgia Southwestern, in your fifth season? From the outside looking in, it looks like a lot of progress has been made over the past few years. You've got an amazing indoor facility that I'm sure is good for training as well as recruiting the folks that are coming in. Just give us an idea of kind of where you're at personally with the program right now.
Yeah, and I think if you go back 5 years ago when I first got here, there was a vision within the administration with Dr. Weaver and Coach Leader, our athletic director, on what they wanted to see within this program. And obviously facilities was a big part of that. And we were fortunate to have the indoor facility along with a locker room that really wasn't part of the plan early, but became part of it later on, which is a huge asset to us. Something that as a player here, I didn't have, and I don't think there's been one here in 20 something years. So it's good to have that. And then kind of look at how the program has progressed. We've kind of Peach Belt wins over the past 5 years. We've broken the record each year with that. And I would consider us a top 4 team in the league now. I think we solidified that last year with finishing third and setting the school record with Peach Belt wins again with 17. So, and also with the recruiting, the caliber of players that we're able to bring in now. And I think facilities and the locker room have a big part of that as well.
Josh, I know you and I tried to talk before we went on about some of the things we want to talk about. One of the things I didn't get to talk to you about, but I hope you'll talk about today, I got to meet one of your mentors, a guy that you coached with a lot, in Rodney Heenan over at Georgia Southern, and Rodney had a lot of good things to say about you. Talk a little bit about those guys that you worked with prior to becoming a head coach and what that working as an assistant meant to your career.
Yeah, and I guess that's the most reach it was at Georgia Southern under Rodney Hennon, and look at somebody who's had tremendous success at the Division I level. I think he might have won his 800, 900th game, or I think his 800th at Georgia Southern this year. So just to see those guys and how they handle things. Obviously, as an assistant coach, you could sit there and be on either side of decision making. And then before that, I was at LSU Eunice with Jeff Willis, which is, I think he's won 7 or 8 national championships there at the junior college in Louisiana. And just being around those guys and kind of seeing how they operate and what they do within the program. Obviously, as an assistant coach going through those years, you always take things that you want to be a part of a program that you're in charge of one day and put it out and see how it works. So fortunate to be under those guys for a number of years, and success always helps with when you're at those places to believe in what they're doing and try to take that to the program that obviously here at Georgia Southwestern.
Josh, we're now well into the 2023 season. You've got several games under your belt as a team. For the casual fan that's not out at the ballpark every week but comes 4 or 5 times, tell us about your team this year, your roster, and the guys that are playing key roles for your team.
Yeah, well, this year we have quite a few newcomers that came in. I think we brought in 15 guys, 14 with transfers. One's a high school senior that come in. And pitching's still kind of our strength that has been the past 5 years. You look at the guys on the mound. On the weekend, Nick McCullum, who's an all-conference guy last year, goes out on Friday night for us. And then a transfer, Ronaldo Usan, they call him Big Ray, the big left-handed pitcher. Has been really good on Saturdays. I think he may lead the Peach Belt in strikeouts and has a sub-2 ERA. And then out of the bullpen, we got Grant Adams, who's been here a couple of years and finally is transforming into what we thought he could be. He's kind of a back-end bullpen guy, and hopefully if we don't use him on the game 1 and 2, he can start game 3. And then we have some other guys in that bullpen that are doing well. And then offensively, Jake Blenstrup is a transfer guy. A D3 transfer that come in this year. He's a Georgia kid that's playing left field for us, hitting leadoff, batting around 350 or so. Does a tremendous job setting the table for us at the top. Corey Lee is a transfer from Chat Valley that really does a good job. Offensively, I think he may be leading our team in hitting or right there 1-2. And then we also have Miles Hartsfield, who's back, all-conference guy last year that's kind of a spark plug for us. So, and there's other transfers that new guys that have come in, and then some returning guys that have stepped up in some opportunities. And I think we're playing well. We won 4 in a row, so we're 10-5 in the league, which puts us, I think, around 4th place. I think it's different here. It seems like it takes us a while to get going at the beginning for some reason. I'll figure that out at some point, but I think we always start playing our best baseball in the second half, which in tournament baseball or postseason baseball, that's kind of when you want to be playing your best baseball.
Well, Coach, it's pretty well documented that the Peach Belt is basically the SEC of Division II baseball. Really, it's that way in most sports. Peach Belt Conference, very well represented, always competitive. Talk to us a little bit about those teams that you expect to be at the top of the Peach Belt and who we're going to have to knock off if we're going to win this thing.
Yeah, I think it's Columbus State's always in there. I know they had a really good year last year and returned a lot of their offense, as well as their pitching staff. So I think they're probably top 10 in the country right now. One team that's come out and kind of surprised a lot of people is USC Aiken. They're playing really well right now. I think they entered the top 25 this past week as well. And then Georgia College, they're always good on conference play. I think they may be 9-3. We have them this weekend, so it'll be a good matchup for us. And then you have Young Harris too, which is just their last year in the league. They're always there at the end. So I think that we consider ourselves in the top 4 of this league, and I think when we get to the end, we'll be there. And like I told our guys this past week, is everything that we want is out in front of us right now. We have a legitimate shot to win this league, and we're about to enter a stretch where we got the 3 teams ahead of us in the standings right now. We got them 3 out of the next 4 weeks. So if we need to step up and start playing well, this is the time.
I know one of the things that's got to be a lot of fun for you, Coach. You and I share a friend, Chris Howell, who's the head coach at Augusta, and you get to compete against him every year in the Peach Belt. You grew up with Chris. He played for me back several summers ago, but man, that's got to be a lot of fun competing against a guy that was an old friend of yours.
Yeah, it is. And then we actually played earlier this year, and they won 2 out of 3 this year. And he does a good job at Augusta. I know they're getting some improvements there. But it's always good to see him and his family and his kids. I think he's got 4 boys. I don't know how he does it, but
I know.
He's got them running around, and we always enjoy competing against each other and talking before and after games for sure.
Coach, tell us a little bit about your staff. I know at the Division II level, sometimes it's hard to hang on to guys for multiple years, but tell us about your assistant coaches and what their roles are.
Yeah, Tyler Bender, he's our recruiting coordinator and pitching coach, does a really good job with our pitching staff. He's from Fort Myers, so he's got the Florida connection down with a lot of the junior colleges down in that area. Does a really good job recruiting and bringing in the high caliber players that we want to have. And then we have Roland Layton, who is our hitting coach. This is his first year here at GSW. And this actually his first job in college coaching. And I couldn't be more happy and pleased with what he's doing and how he handles situations and handles the hitters. Does a really good job day in and day out, giving those guys a plan and helping execute it.
Today's program is being brought to you by the Shred Shed. Mike and Connie Gurley, they provide professional document shredding and do so at an affordable price. Give them a call at 938-2520 and thank them for being a sponsor here on the Integrity Sports Podcast. Josh, one of the things I've talked to, I think every guest I've done since we started this show is about the support network that they have behind the scenes. It's always a lot of fun for me to go to the ballpark and get to see your wife there with the two girls. And that's just a dynamic that's enjoyable, especially for a guy that's got two daughters as well. But I know she's a great coach's wife. You feel very fortunate. Talk a little bit about her and the kids and your parents. I know they're here a lot, and you've got two brothers that are in baseball. Give our audience an idea of your family and what it's like to have such a strong support network.
Yeah, I'll tell you, my wife, Christy, I tell her multiple times during the season. I don't know how she does it because most times I don't get home till late at night. And she'll keep the kids there till the game ends, whether it's 9:30, 10 o'clock, and then somehow get them in bed and do that stuff. But I think it's always a blessing to have somebody that supports this profession. And the good thing about her is she'll tell me how it is at times. You know, when I think things are good, she'll tell me they're not good. We need to figure this out, which I appreciate. And then my parents, they obviously travel around to see a lot of baseball games, whether it's my twin brother Justin or my nephews or whoever it is. I know my mom's probably seen more baseball games than all of us combined. So and then you look at my older brother Jason and brother Justin. Growing up, my dad was an engineer on the railroad, so he was around not as often as probably most dads were. But and you look at my older brother, is around 10 years older than me and my twin brother. So growing up, we were fortunate to have him as our coach all the way through Little League and into high school, and learned a lot from each other. And we always bounce ideas off of it, even though he's out of the coaching profession now and more of an athletic director role. So I always bounce stuff off those guys, even though they have it from a little bit of a different perspective, being at high school where you have some other things you have to deal with that we don't have to deal with as much here. So, but it's good to have support, and it's always good to have people, especially when things aren't where the expectations are. It's always have good people to tell you how it is or what you don't want to hear. And I think that's a good support staff around me.
Hey, one of the things I've always wondered, and I've gotten to know your brothers pretty well over the last few years, do you still make phone calls? Let's say that you're on a road trip and it hadn't gone well. Do you call one of your brothers on the way home and say, hey, here's what happened, and kind of get advice? Do y'all still have that kind of relationship where you can call each other and kind of get advice from each other?
Yeah, we do. Actually, I did it this past weekend. We were in a Friday game where run rules are in effect in our conference games now, and I think we were up 9-0 in the 7th or 8th, and we had the leadoff guy get on, and we stole second. And I think some people think that may be a little bit against the rules of the game and in the ethics part, but as soon as I kind of felt that there was a little bit of tension on that, I called those guys just to make sure, hey, this is a situation. What would you do? And they told me they would do exactly what we did. So I think that happens a lot. We always call each other and kind of bounce stuff off. And a lot of times we'll tell each other what you don't want to hear, which is good as well.
Yeah. Josh, here's one of the things I want to get into tonight, because recruiting has really changed over the last, I'd say 3 or 4 years, especially with the COVID rules that are in place. You've got the portal now that plays a big part at the NCAA level. We've got a lot of parents that watch this program that have high school athletes. We got a lot of high school athletes that watch this program. Talk to us a little bit about how recruiting has changed for you and how that works at your level. And knowing that you're talking to some of these parents right now and some of those kids, kind of explain how you have to go about recruiting and kind of what the rules of the game are at this point.
Yeah, it has totally changed in the past 3 years. It's changed to a level that I never thought it would get to be honest, you know. And just kind of looking at our roster this year, just to put it in perspective for a lot of those people watching, is we have some junior college guys that have come in this year that have played 3 years at their junior college. So they have 3 years of experience at this level. And when they get here, they still have 3 more years to compete at the NCAA level. So for us in recruiting up to this point is if we could take a high school senior that has 0 experience at this level, but has 4 years of eligibility, but we can get that junior college kid that has that experience and has 3 years. That's kind of the route we've taken with that. But I think over the next couple of years, I think it may start to kind of even itself out, and I think something that when the COVID stuff happened, the transfer portal wasn't really, it was there, but it wasn't really as exposed as it is now. And I think that's just something that has went on top of all that, that's kind of dampened a lot of the things for high school guys. And one thing we do in recruiting as well is when we bring guys in and we offer guys scholarships here, we expect them to come in and impact right away, and that a lot of times with high school kids coming in, to the way we look at it from a recruiting standpoint is if we bring a high school kid in and expect him to develop for 2 years before he gets an opportunity, then that's not fair to that kid when he can go to a junior college and really, I coached at the junior college level for 3 years, and if you look at it in a certain view, it's really 2 seasons in one, because you got a full fall season and you got a full spring season. So there's a lot of development that can happen with that as well. So, but I would say for the guys in high school now is you just got to keep working. I think something that separates a lot of high school kids when they get to this level is the strength and conditioning part of it. I think that's something that I think from our program here, we spend probably as much in the fall with strength and conditioning as we do practice, because I think that's something that we take a lot of pride in, is the development of the athlete. But in the recruiting part of it with high school kids, I think what you have to do is you have to kind of figure out where you think you fit at, because there's certain levels of baseball that there's different caliber of players that fit into those different levels. So we always tell guys when we have camps and stuff and we have a recruiting talk is you got to get with your high school coach or your travel coach and kind of figure out where they think you fit at. And sometimes you have to take the blinders off, because I think everybody wants to play Division I baseball or go to that highest level. And that's probably why the portal is like it is. It's a lot of Division I guys that commit early that don't have the opportunities that they thought they would have after the first year. So then they're looking for others. So, but once you find that fit and that level, then I think something that is kind of disappeared now is the phone conversations between recruits and coaches. We get hundreds of emails a week of guys that send their stuff and videos or whatever, but there's probably less than 10 voicemails over the course of 5 or 6 months left, right, or 10 phone calls. So we always tell guys, if you have interest in a place, obviously you can still send the email and the video, but then follow it up with a phone call, whether it's a voicemail or whatever it is, leave that. And then that kind of creates a relationship and a connection with the email that was sent and the kid. Therefore, you're more likely to go in and watch that stuff and kind of dig a little bit deeper to see if there is a fit. And what guys have to understand in the recruiting too, it's just because a place may not say that there's an opportunity there for you doesn't mean that you can't play at that level. I think in our recruiting, especially for this upcoming year, we have real specific needs that we need in terms of the players that we bring in. It's year to year. Some years we'll just bring in the best players that we can get, but this year we have more specific needs that we have. So we may have a kid that can play at this level, but we may not have an exact need for that. So, right. But I think for high school guys, junior college is a big deal now. I know there's a lot of places out there that are doing the post-grad stuff too. So that has become, I think, a good situation as well. So, but yeah, it's changed, and hopefully here in the next couple of years, it will kind of even itself out.
Hey, another thing I want to talk about is something that I've personally noticed at Georgia Southwestern. You and I spend a lot of time together during basketball season. I'll come up and sit with you watching a basketball game. And one of the things I've noticed is all of you guys that work in the athletic department at Georgia Southwestern really seem to have a friendship. You support each other. When I go to your games at Hurricane Stadium, usually Erin Coombs, or if Nikki doesn't have a game, she's there, or Justin Payne. there seems to be a real bond between you guys that are coaching there.
Yeah, and I think that's something that with the change in direction and kind of wanting to be competitive in all the sports, I think that's something that is I think Coach Leader's done a great job with and bringing people in that have the same expectation as he does. And we all like to see each other be successful. You know, it's good to go see the women's basketball team this year and how well they did down the stretch. And then obviously we're at the same time that softball is, so it's sometimes hard to get over there. But it's always good to see the success here, and especially being a former player here and looking at the success of not just a couple of sports, but really all the sports, the success that it has been over the past 4 or 5 years. It's good to see the trajectory and where this place is headed.
And how awesome is it to have a president and his wife that show up at nearly every home sporting event?
Yeah, that's probably very uncommon, you know, and I think that's something that is special to have, especially a president that sees the expectations or sees what can be done here and tries to invest and give us the resources that we need to get there. So that's the good thing about here. There's expectations and there's accountability too, which in this profession, that's what you want.
Well, Coach, as we wrap this thing up today, I want to give you the opportunity to talk to our audience about how they can support the Hurricanes on the baseball field and the importance of the community showing up for you guys.
Yeah, I think just coming out each night or each day on the weekend, I think is big for us. It seems as we go down the stretch here, games have a little bit more weight on them. And I'll tell you, we tell all recruits that come in here that this is, if you come in here on a weekend and the weather's perfect, just look at the number of tents and the people that's here on a weekend. It's pretty special to have here. So, and this community is great and how they support athletics here. So just if you get a chance, come out and watch a game. Obviously, we got new lights on the night games now that have some capabilities to do the flashing and all that, which is pretty cool. So if you get a chance to come out and watch us, you'll be pleased with what you see, I think, and hopefully we can finish this thing down the stretch.
Well, Josh, we want to wish you the best this season. Our program was designed to shed some positive light on coaches, on athletes, on sports administrators who are doing good things in our area. And we appreciate the way that your efforts are building the program. You've done it with integrity, as our name states. And what I hope we can do, Josh, is as we get closer to the Peach Belt tournament, maybe the week before the Peach Belt tournament, we can get you back on and you can kind of preview what's going on there. But thank you for what you're doing and the way you're doing it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you for making the Integrity Sports Podcast a part of your weekly routine. Our viewership is growing and growing tremendously and quick. We're averaging over 2,000 views a week on 10 different platforms. And we want to make sure that as you watch this today, you hit the like button or share it. That's a good thing if you can share it with your friends. Hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. But again, thank you for watching our program every Thursday. For Josh McDonald, I'm Tim Estes. Thanks for watching. So long, everybody.